All right, so let's pray. Father, please help whoever is watching and listening to love themselves enough to fight for the best. Whatever wisdom you've given to us, Father, I'm not afraid, or I'm not stingy with what I know. I am very liberal. Whatever is working for me can work for the people watching. Please give them the heart to receive and the understanding to comprehend what is being said. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, I think it was day before yesterday, I did a session on, just a private session around 3 a.m. in the morning. And I talked about the role of relationship in the season of delay. For those that have not seen the video, you can go check it out. We'll be touching the second phase of that particular teaching. And our topic for today, greatly from kingdom perspective. Now, the topic for today, talking about the role of relationship in the season of delay. So I wrote the titles here. For those that can look at it, usually when I teach, I try to jot down myself. So you can see I have my own jotter. Whatever I want to teach is divinely inspired. We're going to read the Bible and I'll share a few things with you guys. And while it's coming, I also, as much as possible, try to take note of the things that God would have us say. Now, someone will be wondering, like, this is supposed to be like a business class, right? So why are we all, churchy, or whichever angle you want to come from? So let me address that part, that concern in someone's heart who is thinking in that direction right now. The first thing I want you to note in life, take note of this: everything that works is backed up by a spiritual principle. Everything that works is backed up by a spiritual principle. I want you guys to take note of all of these things. Every man that has something working for him, whatever works, all right, was fueled from the realm of the spirit. This physical is only a reality for which the spiritual can find expression. The physical is a reality for which the spiritual can find expression. It means, please take note of this, if you're an architect now and you want to design a house, you'll notice that you don't just pick your laptop and immediately start designing. You would have seen the image of what you want to create in your own mind. And then through your hands and through your understanding, you're able to translate it out for others to see. So in this realm now, whatever the human eye can see is something that is basically formed in the mind, which is spiritual, and then a vessel was used for which that thing was given an expression. So take note of this. As a human being in this life, you are a tool or you are a means to an end. As a human being, you are a means to an end. You are the medium via which either God or Satan will promote his agenda on earth. Before you were born, there was God, and God made Satan. Everything going on, you really don't, there are many things that we cannot explain. But the little one that we can explain, we'll try as much as possible to understand it enough, at least to gain relevance on earth. So one thing I want you to know is that your life is not your own. So if I am a means to an end, then who is using me to find expression on earth? Do you understand? Whoever is using you to find an expression on earth, to a great extent, to tell on the kind of life you live on earth. Do you understand? The life of a man reflects who is finding expression through that person. So nothing is physical, everything is spiritual. So if you believe that you just go to school, study your books, graduate, come back, get a job and all of these things, if that's how life works, meetings like this will not exist. So you're a graduate, you have a certificate, so what? Do you understand that while in the university, you thought you guys were not many in your department? And as soon as you graduated from the university, you got to realize that during the NYC camp, you were thinking you guys were probably 50 that studied that course, only to go to the camp and realize you guys are over 50,000 that studied that course. Meanwhile, the system is designed to just absorb maybe 25 of you guys in the entire nation. Do you understand? So the probability that you can get absorbed by the system now is so low that you need the hand of God to make you visible. That's why I said nothing is physical, everything is spiritual. So when we teach kingdom principles, we help you to see from a dimension that gives you understanding to the things the human eye can see. See, men are just attracted to whatever they can see, right? Who made those things? You're a graduate, you're praying to God that he should give you a very good job. Who created that job? You say, Father, an NMPC job is my portion in the name of Jesus. Which set of people came together to create the whole oil concept? Do you understand? If you do not make yourself available as a problem solver from the dimension of entrepreneurship, you get to realize that you would always be at the mercy of someone who naturally took his time to pay that price. I'll say that again. If you do not position yourself correctly as a problem solver, you would always be at the mercy of the person who took his time to pay that particular price. I hope that's working for you. So if at any point you guys can hear, you can just type within the chat section and then we'll get to whatever it is we want to do. So I needed to establish a few things. Now, starting from the role of relationship in the season of delay, I'll just do a quick recap on that one, and then I can talk about the role of man in the finished work. We're going to read 3 very powerful passages, and I'm going to show you clearly who you are in this world. Because sometimes the reason why we experience a lot of challenges because of either lost identity. I'm saying that if the son of the president, for instance, travels somewhere and gets to lose his consciousness, he would live like a normal man until that consciousness is restored. I don't know if you guys get it. So for instance, now Buhari's son travels to, let's say Imo State. That's not a state where he's greatly liked. I want to believe from the political side and many other reasons. So the boy goes there for some reasons, and then something hits him on the head and he forgets he's the president's son. You would realize that until that consciousness comes, he's almost as helpless as the other man on the street looking for what to eat. That's exactly the life of every human being made by God. The fact that you do not have an accurate understanding of who you are is why you don't know what to do. I hope you guys understand what I'm trying to say. So if you do not have an understanding of who you are, you wouldn't know exactly what you are supposed to do. So what's the role of man in the finished work? What's the role of man in the finished work? We would have to start with the role of relationship in the season of delay. So when I was talking about relationship in the season of delay, we read a few passages, and the first thing I tried to explain is what relationship meant. Then I also talked about delay. Then I tried to link both of them. And then I was trying to explain to you guys how that, give me a second, I'm trying to find, okay. So I tried to explain to you guys in the video how that you pray to God for something and it's not forthcoming, right? And I mean, if you look at the Bible said before you ask, it's been addressed, right? So if before you ask, it's been addressed, Why have you been praying for the same thing for the past 20 years? It doesn't make sense. If before you ask, it's been solved, why are you still praying for the same thing and it's not working? So I'm praying to God to give me 10,000 naira. And then the Bible says, before I ask, it's been addressed. So naturally, by praying that kind of prayer, I'm supposed to have 10,000 naira. That makes sense. But now, the challenge I'm having right now is that God have answered the prayer, but the 10,000 is not forthcoming. So what's holding the 10,000 naira back? Then I now try to explain that request. Please, I want you to take note of this. Everything that you need in life that is physical, God uses men to make those things available. Everything you are looking for in life that is physical, God uses men to make those things available. Then I try to explain that, for instance, you are running a company and you are the CEO now, and then there's a department where someone is, running by appointment. You gave a role, the role of a HOD to someone, and now, so that particular person, maybe for some reason, the person is not able to perform like he should. This is where the issue is now. Do you, as an individual, relinquish your position now and come take over that department because that person is not performing well, or is that because that person is underperforming? Or would you just find the person's replacement? Now, if you're actually the CEO that you say you are, whenever any member of your staff is not performing, you immediately find someone that can take that position. Why? Because if the structure must function accordingly, every arm of the body must function right. If the body is going to function correctly, no matter how sound you think you are, if you have serious pain in your ear, you cannot focus. No matter how irrelevant you think one of these fingers can be, if it's stung by a scorpion, you wouldn't find rest until that issue is addressed. So it means the whole body is as sound as this last finger that is stung by the scorpion. But this is where I'm getting to now. Would you leave your position to come and take that lower department just because that person is underperforming? If you say yes, then naturally God is supposed to leave heaven and come to take over the affairs of men because men are incompetent. So, but what's the reality? Who are you really in this entire equation? Then we looked at Genesis chapter 1 and verse 26. I think one of the earliest class we had, sorry, I'm trying to take my Bible. In Genesis chapter 1, verse 26, I taught that passage from a dimension, and now I want to teach it again from another dimension. That's what makes the Bible really amazing. Like you can read the same verse over and over, and you keep seeing wonderful revelations. In Genesis chapter 1, verse 26, the Bible said, and God said, let us make man in our image. And in that class, I was explaining to you guys that before you can give responsibility to a man, as far as your vision on earth is concerned, you have to make that man. It is your responsibility to make the man before giving that man responsibility. Because if you transfer to responsibility to someone who you did not make, he wouldn't have the accurate understanding to interpret the essence of your vision. So your vision can't find the kind of expression it needs for you to gain the relevance you desire. I don't know if that makes sense. So in verse 26, that was what we said in the first class. We now said, this time around, we are saying, and God said, let us make man in our image, after our likeness. Let them have dominion. So you need to understand that in this reality, in this dimension that we are in, God himself, right, placed us in charge of it. But because he wouldn't give ultimate power to one man, he broke this dimension into multiple realities for which every man can function in the God capacity. Let me explain something to you guys. One of the reasons why the body is not functional like it should. See, you see this right hand? If this right hand refuses to function, because this left, the right hand believes that the left is also a hand, you realize that learning how to ride a bicycle becomes an issue. There are many things you will not be able to achieve if one of your hands stop functioning. Now, so if this hand now on its own, please, I want you guys to listen. You see the value of who you are and what I am teaching. If this hand on its own refused to function just because he can see another hand, right? And then this hand is encouraged to function. What you need to know is that if this hand refuses to function, of course, this hand will have to learn to do so much. But understand that because this hand is not wired to do what this other one should do, this hand will not be able to perform as much as when both of them are performing all at once. This is why there is challenge in the body. I'm talking about the body of Christ now. So there are many Christians who God wants to use. There are many people who are supposed to be business owners. There are many people who are supposed to be problem solvers. There are many people who are supposed to be relevant in the society. There's just one problem. Because they do not see themselves as solutions, the essence of why they were made is now transferred to another man. Because God cannot lie, look at the parable in the Bible. 5 talents was given to one man. Then 3 talents given to another one. Then 1 talent to another one. The guy with the 1 didn't use it. What did the Bible say? They said that one was taken from him and given to the guy with 5. That's how it works in the kingdom. You are a solution. The reason God permitted you to come is because a generation cried and prayed. So God uses men as answers to prayer. Take note of this. God uses men as answers to prayer, so long as the request is physical. God uses men as answers to prayer, so long as the challenge is physical. So let's narrow it down to the reality that we are on now. So you now on your own, you were born, brought up in a system that conditioned you to be a liability, that conditioned you to be dependent, that conditioned you to never have a mind of your own, but always learn to do whatever it is you are told, which is great. See, if everything you say is what God said, you can't be wrong. If everything you say, some of it is yours, you could be wrong. Let me say that again. If everything that you say is what God said, you can't be wrong. Do you understand? The doubt of men begins to come in when you added your own to it. That's trying to help God out. Now, the guy with the 1 talent, his talent was now transferred to the guy with the 5. That's how life works. See, your birth was a response to a cry. Because you are not functioning in that capacity, and God has to answer those generations and requests, he takes your essence and give it to another man that is already functional. That's why you see one man and be wondering, why will God bless this man so much and people are suffering? Haven't you asked those kind of questions before? Where it looks like life is so perfect for this other guy. But see us for the past 3 years, we've been trusting God for a job and nothing is working. Or you see someone walks into a place and the way people rush towards him, you're like, whoa. And then you keep asking yourself, what makes this guy so special? No, what makes him special also makes you special. And it's the fact that he responded to the essence of his making. When you respond to the essence of your making, men will seek for you. When you don't respond to the essence of your making, you have to look for men. The kind of men you look for, if you are not a responder, is men that responded. Because now, like Lazarus, you have to demand a piece from the table of the rich man. If you look at that parable correctly, many of us live like Lazarus. That's why the Bible says, ye are God's sons of the Most High, but you die as men. I want to connect many things, so we'll come back to what I'm trying to say. So in Genesis chapter 1, verse 20, so you now look at this now. So Genesis 1:26 established a reality for us. What's the reality? Please take note of this. Everything you are looking for, another man already has it. Everything you are trusting God for that is physical, somebody already have it. In fact, for you to pray for it, it's because someone else already have it. So the point I'm trying to bring out now is this, that if you are praying for what another man has, God will have to use that man to bring that thing to you. You see, most of the times, God gives us what we need or not what we ask for. But this is the challenge with life. When you give a man what he needs and not what he asks for, he will tell the world you did not do anything. When you give a man what he needs, but not what he asks for, he will tell the world you didn't do anything. The proof that you are growing lies within your ability to differentiate between need and want. Needs grow you. So in verse 26, it said, let us make man in our image. So let me establish this. After our likeness, so that what will happen? Let them have dominion. Everything that you are praying for, see this. He said, let them have dominion over the fowls of the air. Do you understand? If your request is even in that reality, let them have dominion over the cattle, over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth on the surface of the earth. Let me underline the part that says, over all the earth. It means as far as the earth exists, God has placed men in charge. It means as a human being, please listen to me now. It means as a kingdom citizen, you are supposed to have territorial influence. As a kingdom citizen, you are supposed to have territorial influence. These things don't happen overnight. You have to grow yourself for God to trust you with some of those things. So he said, all over the earth, it means everything you're asking for, one man already has it. Father, give me a plot of land. Will the land call you and say, this land is empty, come and take it? You look at a land and think it's empty until you start building on it, and you see. If you want to know the owner of a land, go and till that ground and see. Someone will mysteriously appear, and then you realize that everything is taken. So when you are praying for land, you are praying for what someone already has. So God touches men so they can bring your request to you. So in this reality, God uses men to answer prayer. So if God uses men, somebody will be saying, that's not exactly true. Well, if you watch the last video, maybe you get. But in case you don't get that part, let's look at the book of Isaiah chapter 6. I want to quickly establish something, and then I'll talk about the role of man. Please, if you can hear me, just write. I need to be sure at this point because we are getting deeper now. Just write, like we can hear you. I've not seen any write-up yet, so I need to be sure you can hear me. Great. Thank you, Mr. Prosper. Great. Now, let's look at Isaiah chapter 6 and verse 8. Please, I want you guys to pay attention to this. You know, we are supposed to talk about the principle of time redemption, right? But see, it's amazing how God works. So while I'm preparing myself, principle of time, and then a topic just rolls in. What is the role of man? Yeah. The reality you face on a daily basis is the topic we're addressing today. So when we address and your understanding is enlightened, then we can talk about time. Because time is one reality that's a class you don't want to miss. See, invite somebody. You will think as if maybe we're maybe forcing you guys, or maybe stressing you guys, or maybe we're using you guys as a means to, gain more followership and everything. This is a problem with that kind of thinking pattern. If I think that I am being used, right, then it means, what was my journey like when I was starting? Some of you that are thinking like that, I could probably say, yeah, I was used by men at some point. But do you realize that every system that gives you the opportunity to play a role is a training for your assignment? Every system that gives you the opportunity to grow, right? Every system that gives you the opportunity to play a role is a training for your main assignment. No matter what you want to do in life, if men are missing, that thing is useless. So now when we say invite someone, talk to somebody and everything, what does it take to get someone to understand the essence of what we are doing here? Imagine building yourself to the point where you can talk to a random friend of yours who naturally don't even key into some of these things. He comes into this space, catch the light, and becomes a believer, right? And then You are doing it on a daily basis, you're doing it on a daily basis, doing it on a daily basis, and the time comes, and then when it's time for you to do what you need to do, God now tells you, you can't struggle for men anymore. You've been building yourself. Now you understand what it takes to summon men. What was the last thing Jesus said? Make disciples of men. That is a topic that maybe we'll have to talk about. Making disciples of men. It's called building a belief system. It's a topic. You guys should be taking note of all of these topics because we would have to treat all of them. Let's look at Isaiah chapter 6, verse 8. So what was I trying to say? I'm saying that every request that you ask for, right? God, so long as it is physical, God will use a man as powerful as Elijah, I think Elijah also was. Somebody had to bake bread. God used a man. God used a man. So whatever you're looking for that is physical, God uses a man. Now, what is the definition of delay? Delay can be defined as the time it takes to find a man that have what you need. Who is willing to release it? The delay can be defined as the time it takes to find a man that has what you ask for, who is willing to release it. Because if God touches a man's heart to give you that 10,000 you ask for, and that man is not willing, God has to find another man. The time God will use to find another man, that is what we call extension of delay. So God touches a man's heart, and then the man says no, because he's not totally submissive. Now God is like, okay, that's fine. In the kingdom, there are always men. So God now is looking for another man. He's looking for another man. And then 3 months later, he found one. So if it takes 3 months for 10,000 to come, 3 months is called delay. But delay can be defined as the time it takes to find a man who has what you need and is willing to release it. Do you guys get where we are headed to now? So that topic is as powerful as what we want to talk about today. Now, so somebody will be like, he will raise stones. That's amazing. But let's read Isaiah chapter 6, verse 8. In Isaiah chapter 6, verse 8. Let's read it now. The Bible said, and I heard the voice of the Lord saying, whom shall I send? Do you think he was talking about animals and insects or flies? He said, and I heard the voice of the Lord saying, whom shall I send? Who shall go for us? This is a miracle now. Then said I, here I am, send me. Whoever God is looking for and whoever is supposed to be the representative, right? If Isaiah had kept quiet and God has to search, a generation would have to wait until God find that man. So God is powerful. He's everywhere all at once. Why wouldn't he just magically appear and just start solving problems? Understand this. That's why I use the CEO concept. So long as God has made a man and placed him in charge, it is belittling of his office that he lives where he is to this dimension to do what he has empowered a man to do. So if there is still a man available that God can use, if it will take 20 years, a generation has to wait that long. My question to you now is, how long will your generation wait before you figure out how important you are to them? One day, all of us will die. No matter how important you think you are going to die one day. The one thing we all share in common is death. We may vary in assignment, purpose, and essence, but we all will share death in common. It is death for you when you don't even fulfill your assignment. It is sleep for the ones that fulfill theirs. Paul said, I have fought a good fight. I have finished my course. I have kept the faith. I'm teaching you guys leadership. I'm teaching you guys the mindset you need to function in leadership and in the business space, if you really get what I am trying to say. Now, God that created the universe, heaven and earth, everything you can ever think of said, and Isaiah said, I heard the voice of the Lord saying, whom shall I send? So now you understand, why will God say that kind of thing? Genesis chapter 1, verse 26, let them have dominion over all of the earth. So if they are going to have dominion all over the earth, it means, please take note of this, if all men decide not to serve God, right? Naturally, we have pushed God out of this dimension. So could it be that the will of God is just waiting for one man to say, yes, I am going to do it? And are you that man? We are just a random graduate who is seeking a job. There's a testimony I'm going to share with you guys in the coming days, but I don't feel led to share it now. It's a position I was given. I didn't ask for it. I didn't even know that that position was available. And it has to do with me heading the whole of Africa. And it came recently. I didn't ask. I didn't even know. But they were needing a man to head Africa. And somebody just passed the name and said, if you need someone for Africa, I know Christian. And then she reached out to me to take my permission, to ask for my permission to submit my name. You guys think that what we are doing here is a joke? If you understand the principles we are teaching correctly, see, you would think you are making progress, but I will take my time building myself in the secret place, and it will look like you are faster than me because you are under the sun, moving from pillar to post, using the worldly term called hustling. By the time you are drenched, by the time you are dehydrated and stressed out, you return back home and in all frustration, you are wondering, why is my day so bad? Then I call you on the phone. I said, this is what the Lord did. And I didn't have to really do much about the whole thing. What exactly did I do? The problem with testimony is when these testimonies are shared, imagine I tell you guys, the Lord just hit me and I just got one kind of deal and it's so amazing. What was my role in all of this for the testimony to be complete? What did I have to do for God to touch somebody's heart? No matter how special Saul thinks he is, there is a David building himself in the wilderness. And if he is not careful, the crown will be taken from him. That's another topic. You people should write it down. Kingdom replacement. I will teach it someday. Now let's come back here. That's the end of my testimony. I will give it again another day, probably from another country in the coming days. Now let's come back to the class. God says, and I heard the voice of the Lord saying, whom shall I send? Who will go for us? Why will God want to send a man? It's because he is God. He already have designed a man. So a man has to do that job. So whatever you are asking for, right? So long as it's in this dimension, it means God have done it already, but a man is in charge of it. You are asking for what God has already finished, and a man is in charge. What did that man do to be in charge of what you are praying for? The time it will take for God to get him to give that thing to you, that time is defined as delay. That's why sometimes our fathers prayed. They prayed all of their life. And it seems like nothing was working until you were born. You were born, it looked like nothing was working until you grew. It looks like nothing is working until you now got the revelation of what your dad needed to have done to get what he's been praying for. So now, because you've gotten the revelation, God now uses you as a means to give him a fraction of what he asked for so that he can see the faithfulness of God in general, but he gets to see the role he didn't play in the finished work of God. I don't know if you guys are getting where we are headed to now. Whom shall I send? Who will go for us? If you look at, I think Genesis chapter 2, I believe. In Genesis chapter 2, message translation, let me see if I can find it. I would have to use the Bible I use, we grew up with King James Version, so, you understand. So I'll read it from the Message Bible, Genesis chapter 2, I think from verse 5. Let me quickly read that part. then we can hit a few key points for us. Genesis chapter 2. Give me a second, I'm with you. Genesis chapter 2, verse 5, Message translation. Let me quickly read that part. All right, so the Bible said, at the time God made the earth and the heaven, before any grass or shrubs had sprouted from the ground, God hadn't yet sent rain on the earth, nor was there anyone to walk on the ground. The whole earth was watered by underground springs, all of those. Then it continues by saying, God formed man out of the dirt from the ground and blew into his nostrils. Genesis chapter 2, verse 5, I believe. Yeah, verse 5. Okay, this is the part that I want you guys to get. He said, as at the time God made the earth and the heaven, before any grass or shrub sprouted from the ground, God hadn't sent any rain on the earth, nor was there anyone available to walk the ground. If you look at King James Version, someone just typed a message. What's the message? Please let me know. Someone just typed a message. Let me know what that is. All right, great. Let's continue. Now, if you look at King James Version, it said, and every plant of the field before it was on the earth, and every herbs and so on and so forth, for the Lord had not caused it to rain on the earth. Why? Because there was no man available to till the ground. Now, if you look at Genesis chapter 1, God finished everything in 6 days. And Genesis chapter 2 now is saying the earth was not functional. Please, I want you to see this in application to your business space now. It means there is an arm of your business that can't function well until you find the person that fits into that category. So God now is saying, because there was no man available, so everything that God did was a total standstill because there was no man available to manage it. There was no man available to run it. So what's your role in the finished works of God? God created you from the beginning as a manager. From the beginning, you have been designed as a manager. It means every man made in the image, every man created in the image of God has a management ability inside of him that needs to be cultivated. So if you look at that 2 verse 5, he said, because there was no man available to till the ground. So now you understand, no man available, nothing happened. So in Isaiah chapter 8, verse 6 that we just read, or 6 verse 8, the Bible said, whom shall I send and who will go for us? And then Isaiah said, here I am, send me. So what is the role of relationship in the season of delay? I've stressed a lot about delay. What is relationship? You see, the offer I got that has to do with me heading the whole of Africa, it was bettered out of relationship. When I graduated from the university, please, you guys, to pay very close attention to the assignment I want to give you guys now. If you admire what God is doing in my life, then I can give you step by step of what I did that brought me to where I am. And I'll give you guys step number 1. It will be an assignment. If you look at the Bible correctly, Abraham was going to transition. He gives his blessing to Isaac. Isaac was going to transition. He gives his blessing to, what do you call that guy's name? Jacob, even though it was meant for Esau. Then Jacob wants to transition. He called his children together. He gives. So there's something about the spoken word. Please understand this. Take note. Men are custodians of earthly inheritance. Take note of this. Men are custodians of earthly inheritance. It means to function effectively on earth, you need a man to also speak over your life. If God has placed us in charge, it means you need the recommendation of a man as well. Why did it mean so much to Jacob to betray his brother by collecting the blessing? Men are custodians of earthly inheritance. you will never have access to the atmosphere you don't honor. You will never have access to a grace you don't honor. You will never have access to a relationship you don't honor. One of your biggest mistakes is seeing somebody that God have placed in your life with the kind of grace that you would not, your money can't even buy. But because the pride in you will not permit you to have a taste of that grace, all you get to see is a friend. I told my friend something like that one time. I said, if all you see in me is a friend, you will never have access to what's working for me. Because as a friend, I will always be there to support you in the times of need. But was I designed to just support your need? Or could it be that I can play a role to bring you into who you are meant to be? That person I'm talking about today is doing really well. And there is another that will not listen. And I can tell you on a daily basis, he has challenges. I want to give you guys this assignment. If you pay attention correctly, see, let me say this correctly, take note. If what you have is proportional to your hard work, you need grace. If what you have is proportional to your hard work, you need grace. Because in the kingdom, God blesses in a compound at a compounding rate. So if what you have is fixed, you need grace. Because in this kingdom, it comes as a compounding. Imagine the offer that came, they were asking me if a large chunk of millions would be sufficient. Then I'm like, okay, there are many people around me that will gladly sell their birthright for 10% of the offer I got. And I told them, well, I don't know, money is not why you met me. You met me because someone recommended me to you. And by that recommendation, that person would have told you that if our relationship was defined by money, I would have lost her many years ago. So I want you guys to get note of this. If you do not know why a man is in your life, you would always miss out on the essence. If you do not know why a man is in your life, you will always miss out on the essence. What am I bringing out there? Every man is positioned in your life for a reason. Find it. It could be that my role in your life is not to give you money. My role is to speak into your life for a change. I want to say this with all humility, that I carry a grace for a change. Meaning whoever I meet, something changes in their life. It's a grace. If I meet you one-on-one and we speak for 10 minutes, there's something that has to change in your life. It's a grace. I have known this since I was in secondary school, because in a company of 3, there is something that makes me stand out. And you think Satan didn't attack all of these things? I told you from the beginning, everything that you see that works, that is physical, has a spiritual dimension to it. So what is assignment number 1? I have laid these things, bringing out a key point that says men are custodians. So for those of you that are Christians and you go to church and everything, you see even in your church, whichever church you attend, you see where maybe they want to ordain someone, they lay hands and they are saying impartition, right? Maybe you graduate from school of ministry or whatever it is, you just see there is this spoken word over your life. Father, bless him, do all of it. Why do you take all of those moments very serious? Something is wrong with you and you need another man to speak over. He just says mere words that only your ear had. You didn't see any chair vibrating or anything, and you go back feeling very joyful because you know it is going to work. So what's my assignment? Please take note of this. I want you guys to carry a seed. This assignment will come in 2 ways. There is one of you that is currently watching that I gave this assignment to. I think there are 2 of you watching that I give this assignment to directly. One of them, I will not mention what God is doing so that, let's just keep his case very private. The second one is also coming up very fast. I'm saying that God has pushed him into a dimension that the things he should struggle for becomes easy. But as wonderful as what God is doing, he understands the value of silence enough to keep quiet, and he's very quiet. You wouldn't know until I tell you, because he wouldn't say it. There are 2 assignments I want to give you guys. Whoever gave birth to you, right? I want you to package a seed. It doesn't have to be cash. It can be shoe. Just think of that one thing they like the most. Package it. Go and meet them and read this passage of the Bible as far as men being custodians can be. Tell them they should speak over your life. See, our fathers didn't know these things. My grandfather, the one that gave birth to my mom, before he died, in 2012, I went to meet him. He didn't know I was coming. I didn't tell anyone. I don't know. God just gave me this divine wisdom. And so I went to see him and I said, I am Christian, the one you say you want to see before you die. He pulled me and they love everything. He thought I was going to stay. I said, no, I'm here on an assignment. He said, what is wrong? And I said, a time comes in the life of a man where a word has to be spoken over that man before he starts his primary assignment. So I came to meet you to collect your blessing. See, it was so timely. Why? This is what he said. He said, I have given birth to up to 12 children or so, between 10 to 12 children in my lifetime. I'm not sure of the number because some of them have died. Now, some died before I was even born. Now, he said, none of the ones that I give birth to have come to ask for what you are asking for. So he looked at my grandmother and said, what do you think? She said, if he is the one that has the wisdom to come and ask, why not give it to him? He now said, I hereby combine the blessing of all and I give it to you. Let me tell you guys these things. Whatever works for me is not my hard work. My hard work is necessary because I have a role to play. But there is a spoken word that makes every of my steps easy. That was the assignment I gave him. And I told my student, I said, you said you want me to speak over your life? He said, yes. I said, fine. I will not speak over your life. I want you to go and do this. When you do it, come back, then I'll speak over your life. And then he did. Then he left. When he met his father, I'll just share for the first I told. His father was so touched that his father took him to the village where he was born. In the middle of the night, placed his hands on the earth and made a declaration over the person's life. So when he came to meet me, I now told him, I said, let me tell you what's going to happen. The finances of your family will sit on your shoulder. He thought I was joking. Well, with time, he will share his story and you guys will understand what that means. Our time is far gone. What's my assignment for you now? Do exactly what I did then and come back and tell me how you feel exactly and the things that will begin to change. When words are spoken, why do you need all of these words spoken? Take note, God placed man in charge and words never die. Are you guys following? Now let's talk about relationship. Now in relationship, as far as the role with respect to delay now, see, now I said the time it takes God to find a man. What are we trying to say in essence? Saul messed up. The time it took God to prepare David is called delay for Israel. Hey, I wish you guys get what I'm saying. The time it took God to prepare David is the delay Israel had. Let me tell you what comes with delay. Every challenges of life. The prophets that Saul killed, all of the people that died because Saul was trying to look for David to kill. Hey, do you think those people were meant to die? If David was ready from the beginning, Saul would have died the day God rejected him. The time it takes for God to find a man is delay. How can you in the physical realm play a role? How can you in the physical realm play a role to, this is the beautiful thing about the concept of delay. The timing of delay can be lessened if you understand God enough to play a role. What's your role? Relationship. So what's relationship? It's a currency that saves time. What is relationship? Relationship is a currency that saves time. The time it will take me to raise 10,000, a relationship will raise it in a fraction of that time. You want to raise capital for your business? Take relationship seriously and tell me if capital will be your challenge. Because there will be a class where I'll teach you guys how to raise capital for your business. But I'm not interested in you being a business person. I run a financial class where people follow and I give them financial signals, trades, they make money and everything. But let me tell you guys, I will give up that financial group 10,000 times for this particular one, because this is more important than any kind of finance. Because if you get this teaching correctly, that class is not even necessary. I'm telling you, that class is just a medium to save you the massive disaster that is coming because of delay as a season in your life. So what is relationship? So take note of this. Now, for relationship to be built, it starts with contact. The essence of contact is impact, right? So take note of this. Contact begets knowledge. So I meet you for the first time. Take note of this. If relationship starts with contact, it means every relationship, right, starts with first impression. So take note of this. Every man that you meet in life is an opportunity for you to introduce yourself. Every man that you meet in life is an opportunity for you to introduce yourself. So if you've not built yourself enough to give value to the introduction, the man will not remember you tomorrow. Meanwhile, what you are looking for can only come from a man. Hey, I don't know if you guys get that part. So what are we trying to bring out as far as the concept of relationship is concerned? So it starts with contact. So contact begets knowledge. It means when the frequency of contact increases, knowledge begins. If I start seeing you on a daily basis, it means I'm back to school. I'm learning who you are. Now take note of this. In the place of knowledge, a pattern is created. So it means, what are we talking about pattern? The greatest pattern is the impression pattern. The impression you lay in the heart of a man will determine whether or not you are relevant to him or not. So now from knowledge, then a decision is made. It is the decision that gives birth to relationship. So in that, how can relationship birth, how can you influence a man's decision to convert the knowledge into relationship? Is by creating a pattern that gives him a foresight of who he can become with you in his vineyard. Do you guys understand what? If you don't get anything, get what I am trying to say now. The pattern you create that gives the man the understanding of who you are in his vineyard. You've gotten it already. Could it be that one of you watching this video now to raise 20,000 is a big deal? Meanwhile, some of us have gotten to a point where 20,000 is not even on our request anymore. It's not pride, it's that we understood principles. If you gain mastery in this principle, Satan will be too frustrated because he believes that just like any other man, you are pursuing all of this physical thing. Then he wakes up to the surprise. What you are pursuing is no longer physical. Take note of this. I am supposed to teach you guys spirit currency. Spirit currency. Take note of all of these things. Because if you get all of this, someone say, I want to be like you. No, you don't need to be like me. Just understand the principles that I followed. And the understanding that everything is spiritual and you get what we're trying to mean. So what's relationship now? Relationship is a byproduct of a decision that was made as a result of a pattern that gives an understanding of relevance to the person who decides to pull you into his vineyard. I want you to look within yourself now. Can you say that you have 5 people in your life that you have consciously positioned yourself in their life for value that can give you 100,000 without bragging about it? If your answer is yes, then you get what I'm trying to say. If your answer is no, listen. Because if you do not understand what I'm trying to say, the time it will take for that miracle to happen, that's delay. What is your role in the season of delay? Now, so they are looking for somebody to represent them in Africa. Why will that person mention the name Christian IDOGA? It is easy. It started with contact, and the contact gave birth to knowledge, and the knowledge brought us to a point of decision. And her decision was, wow, Christian is somebody I would like to have around my space for a very long time. Do you understand what that means? So I got an offer that you guys will spend almost all of your life praying for. And I didn't pray for it. I didn't ask for it. It came, and they had to ask my permission if I want it. So what's the role of relationship in the season of delay? Relationship is a currency that saves time. Are you guys understanding what I'm saying? Now we've taken so much of time, and we are supposed to stop 11:30. And it's actually now that we are supposed to dive into our topic, which is the role of man in the finished work. I will just summarize in 2 minutes, talking about the role of man in the finished work. What is the role of man in the finished work? Genesis chapter 2, verse 5. After God has finished everything, nothing worked because there was no man available to till the ground. So when you sing songs like, "Who am I that you are mindful of me? I know who I am." There are songs that are only emotional, but they don't carry any message. Sincerely. I don't go before God and tell him I am useless. No. If I am useless, it means he was not wise to make me in the first place. Father, I am that useful tool you've been looking for. Because what you confess is what you possess. Genesis chapter 2 verse 5 said the word was not functional because we were not available. Now that we are available, the word is functional. I told you guys about the fact that the safety of Sodom lies within your ability to build a belief system. So what is the role of a man in the finished work of God? It's very simple. Your role is to manage what he has finished. Your role is to give life to what he has finished. Your role, why did I say give life? Because as soon as man came, then the need for rain came, right? So if there's no one available, have you tried renting an office before and you don't have someone to put in that office? What do you see inside? Dust and cobwebs. As soon as you get someone to stay in that particular office, what happens? The office becomes functional and result begins to come in. God designed everything to give him glory. See, glory matters so much to God that he spent a large chunk of his resources just to create this system. All to what? His glory. So let me tell you this now. In the kingdom, fame is traded for glory. You can't be more popular than God. So he's ready to give you a portion of popularity in return for the glory, which means wherever you go, the glory goes to him. But the people will know you are the one that brought him there. The role of man in the finished work of God is in Genesis chapter 2. Nothing worked because there was no man. A generation have prayed and God used you as the answer. So if God told that generation, I have answered, why? He's telling them, I have answered because they've given birth to you. Do you understand that we waited for Jesus for so long? And as soon as he came, he still had to learn the ways of life before he started his ministry. Jesus started at the age of 30. How old do you want to be before you start your own? Because if life is designed for us to follow the blueprint of Jesus, why is it that you are 30-something and you still don't know who you are? I started having an idea of who I was going to be since I was 17 years old. Let me give you guys the secret. One of the things that helped me the most was that I made friends with people that were way older than I was. Do you want to know why? Because they reminded me of who I shouldn't be, or they motivated me to work harder to become who I should be. When you spend all of your time with your class, that's where you remain. You don't gain promotion. You have to learn from men who have gone ahead, or learn from men who have gone ahead and made massive mistakes. What is the role of man in the finished work of Christ? So if you know the role of relationship in the season of delay, then you understand that man is a necessity for this world to function. So the role of man in this reality is that for this world to function, a man is necessary. Because Genesis chapter 1 verse 26 have given us dominion. You were not born to follow, you were born to partake. Business is not a suggestion, it is a mandate. The only way you can respond to the generation that prayed for your birth is that you take on a business. Because if you are looking for immortality, immortality can only be found in the business you have created. Because only what can live after you have gone can tell your story in your absence. Only what can live after you have gone can tell your story in your absence. So if you do nothing, have you seen people that when they die, people will cry for 2 days? 3 months later, their names have disappeared completely. Millions of people, you don't know their name like that. But there are names. There are names. 1,000 years from now, you still know. Why? Because of how they responded. Please let me tell you guys this. When you do the assignment that I just gave you guys, that's assignment number 1. In our next class, we'll do assignment number 2. Let's schedule for Tuesday because there's something very powerful I want to teach. Then I'll give you guys assignment number 2. If you do the assignment in obedience, tell me. You don't have to, you can drop it on the group. Just share your testimony there. The role of man in the finished work of God. Nothing works because a man was not available. If nothing is working and you are available, please understand that if you do not begin to manifest in the essence of why you were made, God is not under any obligation to provide extra security. So when you ask questions like, why did that moral man die just like that? I believe I'm answering that question for you already. If the guy, take note, the guy with the 1 talent, his talent was taken from him and given to the guy with 5. Did the master say, okay, go, Joe, you this mumu person? No, the master didn't do that. They said he was thrown into outer darkness where there was weeping and gnashing of teeth. So could it be that you are in a season of weeping and gnashing of teeth because the essence of your making, you have thrown it away? Or God have carried, imagine losing relevance in your lifetime. You are still alive and you are not even relevant. It is one thing that you are relevant and then after you die, people are contemplating on whether or not they should give you the whole relevance title. But you are still alive and you are not relevant. That's a very serious issue. It has nothing to do with Satan. It is that your understanding is not enlightened. And so long as your understanding is not enlightened, you are in trouble. I have to stop here because we agreed on time. I hope this session works for you and I hope you learned something. And if you learn something, the proof that you are learning from this place is that when you walk out of this place, you will bring your friends here so they can learn for themselves. Every man that you could have brought to this place, right? Okay, Miss Naomi is asking, it doesn't have to be, but if your birth parents are alive, start with them. That's number 1. Then a man you look up to in your lifetime, because once you are done with your parents, that's case number 1. That is just to open your portal. But it is possible that your parents have not grown into the dimension of success you are looking for. So you have to find a real person who exists in that dimension and you need to go and sow into his life so he can speak over you. It doesn't have to be money. You can sow service. The best seed to sow is the seed of service. The best seed to sow is the seed of honor. Meet that man and tell him, speak over my life. These are the 2 classes of people. Once these 2 people speak, your parents is your source. The other man is Chronicles. Believe in his prophet and you'll prosper. I hope you guys understand what that means. Miss, okay, someone is asking what the assignment is. The assignment basically has to do with you going to your parents if they are alive. If they are not, find a parent figure, sow something they desire into their life and tell them to speak over you. It shouldn't be God bless you. Let it be a sacred moment. Isaac may have said God bless you many days, but the day he wanted to speak that blessing for a change, it was a sacred one. When you do the parental side, then look for a man who God is using and you can see the result in his life. Go to that man and tell him to speak over you too. Do these two things and tell me if things will not change your life. I'll teach you guys practical principles. Why am I giving you this assignment? Men are custodians of earthly inheritance. There are two people that are supposed to speak over your life now. Find them. Jacob caught one of his lamb and did pepper soup and gave the father. When the father spoke over his life, please, I want you guys to get why I said you should sow into that person's life. When the father spoke over his life, do you notice that till he died, he became the owner of plenty sheep and flocks? Do you guys get where I'm headed? Be careful with what you sow into a man's life, because that is what God will multiply. If you sow chicken, be ready for poultry. Do you understand? If you sow tomato, you understand what that means. So when I went to meet my mom's father, who wanted to see me before he wanted to die, I sowed money. Why? Because that is one thing that all men are looking for. And then he spoke over my life. He said, the whole world will know your name. That places that we couldn't go, or your lineage can't even go. Not just that you go to those places, that those places will come looking for you. I don't have to go to the US. The US comes to see me every year. I have relationship with US, Canada, UK, Australia. See, I can keep naming it for you guys. A friend of mine in California, she told me, she said, whenever you are in the US, I want you to know that my house is your own. She is very old. What did I do in her life for her to tell me that her property is mine? I will teach you guys the principle of honor. I hope you guys are understanding what I'm saying. What is your role? Please take note of this. Your role is to give life to what God has finished, because you are the manager of this dimension. Thank you so much, everyone. Now let us pray. Father, I love these people that are watching. And whatever works for me, I multiply it and I give it back to them. I have studied you enough to know that the reason why I never lack is because everything I have, I'm ready to give. And every time I give, I always get something bigger. That's actually my ultimate secret. Everything I know, the moment I release what I know, before I sleep, something else comes. That's why I'm always knowing. But Father, the Bible said, ever learning but never coming to the knowledge of truth. These people will not hear and remain like this. May their life change in Jesus' name. Amen. Thank you so much, everyone. See you on the group. Bye.
Thank you so much, sir.